Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television, our community connected. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. We're at Felton Star Theater on the campus of Fort Hays State University in Malloy Hall with Dr. Lane Weaver, Director of Athletic Bands, Symphonic Winds, and Brass Choir at Fort Hays State University, as we talk about music and also about a special award which Dr. Weaver has been presented with an award by his peers. First though, Dr. Weaver, we need to highlight our backdrop here, which is a new arrival for the Department of Music.
Just got here a few days ago. It's something that we'll feel will help us promote our department and just showcase all the different things we have to offer in the Department of Music and Theater a little bit better, whether it's reaching out to our peers, high school students, people on our campus and in our community. So yeah, it's kind of a fun thing for us to be able to have.
And of course the lettering on the front here, it's a kind of a curved design if you can't quite make it out. And then there are music education and student pictures on each side that are in the block form.
Yeah, the pictures highlight everything from performance ensembles to studio work with teachers and students in lesson situations, to even our summer music camp and theater productions, just a lot of different things that we're able to offer.
And this is going to be a beautiful backdrop for things like the Kansas Music Educators Association presentation by the young people.
Yeah, and hopefully it allows students and other faculty and our peers in that setting to see everything that we do have to offer and the quality of what we have to offer here at Fort Hays State.
Very mobile too. You and Ben Morris-Klein didn't have any problem at all moving this.
Didn't take much. Take much. Modern engineering, that'll leave that to somebody else.
Indeed. Kansas Music Educators Association Outstanding College Music Educator.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations,
Thank you.
Dr. Weaver.
Thank you.
Kind of nice to be recognized though by your peers.
It is. It's nice and it's appreciated. It's a little awkward at times, but you know, hopefully it's a sign that you're doing the right sort of things. You're out, you're visiting schools, you're making connections, community connections with your students in the area. You're helping the cause of music education in our region and in Kansas, and in frankly in other states around as well. So,
Dr. Weaver, if you would talk about the Music Educators Association, its importance.
It is important. It's basically it's our professional organization for music educators in our state. It's part of the National Association for Music Education. It's the state organization belonging to that greater umbrella organization. And it allows us to come together, as you would imagine, any sort of professional organization, to support each other, to lobby for our causes, to support the cause of music education in schools and in the country. It's also a place where students from various schools can get together and audition for things like all-state organizations, all-state choirs and bands and orchestras, where they have a chance to perform with their peers from all across the state. We bring in very top-level conductors and performers and clinicians from around the country, and just create a great experience for these students. And within KMEA, the Kansas Music Educators Association, there are regional versions that kind of do the same thing, create the same sort of atmosphere and education opportunities in the different parts of Kansas.
Dr. Weaver, one of the things that struck me about the music department at Fort Hays State University is the wealth of talent, not only now within the department, but those who have graduated, who have gone on to teaching and instructional facilities themselves, whether it's middle school, high school level, college level.
Right, yeah, and we are fortunate. You know, we're kind of I think we're kind of a unique place here at Fort Hays. We take people that come, students that come with a great deal of musical background. They've been studying music all their lives. They've had opportunities to be in large productions, to be in different ensembles that maybe have even toured the country in different ways. And we get a lot of students that you know, still might be first-generation college students that come and don't have the same background, the same opportunities from the areas that they're coming from. We're able to gather them all together, put together a good product, and really provide an education that allows them to be successful, whether they're educators or performers. We've had really, really great success setting students on in a lot of different professional capacities.
Well, and that brings me to my question of Dr. Lane Weaver's secret of teaching success as recognized by your peers. When you have all of the divergent backgrounds of these young people coming together and trying to bring them in, whether it's symphonic winds or the choir or marching band, whatever it may be.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to meet your students where they are. And I think one of the unique things that we have here at Fort Hays State is we have a lot of faculty with a lot of diversity, a lot of background in different areas, different capabilities. For example, with the marching band, we've got students that have come from really great high school experiences, some that have maybe even had drum and bugle corps experience, which is like the major leagues of the marching arts is what they call it, to students who've never set foot on a football field. But we meet them where they are, you know. We're able to say, okay, this is our group for this year. These are our strengths. We're going to teach them everything they need to know, teach them the different things that they need to understand to be successful. We do a lot of things in-house. We do our arrangements in-house. I know how to write for the band. I know how to showcase those strengths. I know what our capabilities are as far as moving around on the field. And we're able to put together a good product. A lot of the things that we emphasize is student leadership and student ownership. I put a lot of responsibility on our student leaders. You know, if you think about it, we've got, you know, close to 150 in our marching band, and we have 2 band directors. If you look at, you know, your average football team, maybe 100 players or something like that, and 10 or 11 coaches, a little bit different. So our student leaders become our assistant coaches. They become the ones that really help drive and make our performances successful.
Yeah, and much like the football teams or other sports teams, it's those veterans, if you will,
Right.
who can help the younger people and guide them in the finished product.
Definitely, definitely.
And the pressure's got to be on, too, with that first football game and the marching band, and you've got 150, which, by the way, I wanted to highlight, has been a significant increase under your tenure. I think part of the professionalism that you bring to the faculty.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. We've benefited from the growth of the university, certainly. When I came to Fort Hays in 2008, we had 92 in the marching band, and so our growth has been pretty significant. And so we're aiming for 150 this next fall as well. Just a good group of students, though. And again, when students have that ownership, it becomes it's not my band, it's our group, it's our ensemble. But there's, you know, if you put together a group of students and within 2 weeks say, okay, you have to perform, and we don't have a preseason, you know, we don't have non-conference games, we have to be ready to go right away. Yeah, there is some pressure, but it's also a lot of fun. They're great students. I've been a lot of different places, big schools, small schools, public schools, private schools. The students we have here at Fort Hays State I enjoy more than any place I've been.
Of course, there's the marching band, the high-profile pep band at basketball games and
Right.
such as that, which we always enjoy and really brings up the level of enthusiasm, I think, with the student and with, you know, the adults that are in attendance, too, I think. Talk about the brass choir and the symphonic winds. Whenever you have those choices for students in such a broad program as Fort Hays State is able to offer, do the students select? Do you kind of guide them into one or the other, or do they want to experience all of it?
It really depends. There are some students that we have that come in the fall and they just like the marching experience, and that's their thing. That's what they really want to do. So we see them in the fall. We love to have them come back and do an indoor experience, a concert ensemble experience. But sometimes schedules don't work, or they don't want to. That's just not their thing. So I say, okay, see you next fall. The next time, or the other students come and they really just want to jump in with both feet. And these are people who are music majors and non-music majors. That's a thing that we're really proud of. We have a footprint all across campus, all the different disciplines. It's not just music majors. So we open up the Symphonic Winds. That's our non-auditioned concert band. So we just open the doors and as wide as we can and bring in as many people as we can and want to perform. And it's a great experience. The brass choir, as you would imagine from the name, only brass instruments. There's no percussion, there's no woodwind instruments. And so that's a different sound, it's a different experience. It's a smaller ensemble. That group is about, we've had anywhere from 18 to 22, 23, I think is where we're at this semester. And it's just a different focus. You focus a lot more on the qualities of the brass instruments and try to put a performance together within that framework, that structure of that sound, that ideal brass sound.
And is it something that you stress for the history of a group like Symphonic Winds, for example, and how far back those performances go, really, with groups and organizations?
Well, there's more and more diversity, and there's a great band tradition out there. And you know, we try to connect our students with the Symphonic Winds and that organization to some of the great symphonic band pieces that have been written, you know, the turn of the last century, all through the 20th century. And there's just a lot of great new music that's being composed for these ensembles. The brass choir is actually a group that in some ways we explore different ways. There's brass music that's been around for 400, 500 years. Sometimes we'll dip back into that and touch on that. There's also some music that I arrange or that I write that's just brand new. So there's a lot of history to explore in both of those ensembles.
Broadening their experiences,
Absolutely.
basically.
Absolutely.
Talk about your early music experiences, would you, Dr. Weaver? What influenced you in music?
My family, my dad's side of the family was very musical, in particular, and that's probably where my first musical experiences came from. My dad grew up in an era where he put himself through college playing in a dance band, and he was a trombone player like I am, and in fact I started playing on his trombone that he had when he was in high school and junior high. So it was just something that was just around. You know, I didn't grow up listening to rock and roll and that sort of thing. I grew up listening to Dave Brubeck and some of those greats there. So I always had an ear for that type of thing. I really was involved in jazz in high school. When I got to college, all the different experiences really opened up. And I got to see all the different things that were available and found out that you can make a great living, even now, making music. I was a pre-med major to start off with, and then one day the chemistry book flew across the dorm room one too many times, and I said, you know what, I need to do what I want to do. And you know, it's not a rich life in terms of finances, but it's a rich life in terms of experience, in terms of people I get to work with.
That's a significant thing that most music educators and students who play music, it's something that they can take with them all their lives.
Absolutely, whether they're a professional or whether they're an amateur musician or just a supporter of the arts, it's never going to leave you.
I always like to ask you too, in our final minute or two here, about what parents can do to encourage their young people, whether they're in small, elementary or up through high school.
Well, with today's society and all the digital access that we have, just being exposed to different opportunities. I guess when I got to college, it took me to get to college to realize all the different things that I could do with music. Well, my gosh, we've got YouTube now, and we've got jaw-dropping performances that are, you know, a couple clicks of a computer mouse away. And then going and seeing something live, you know, giving your students a chance to see something that's really impressive. And we have that here at Fort Hays, we have that in our region, and all of us that end up in music usually have that one aha moment that says, that was the moment. That was when I decided I really wanted to make that happen. So just like you go see and you watch the Super Bowl and you see the highest level performance there, you can watch some great performers of music in all sorts of genres and from popular music all the way down through classical.
Take about 30 seconds, if you would, Dr. Weaver, and highlight a couple of upcoming events that you'd like to promote.
A couple things that are really going on. Coming up at the beginning of March, we have our play, Harvey, which is a very famous play. Jimmy Stewart had a great role in the movie version of that. That'll be performed here on March 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. In the middle of March, we have some great performances with our choirs and our bands. In fact, our band concert on March 13th is going to feature Alan Vizzuti, who's a trumpet player who's been to our summer music camp several times, one of the top 2 or 3 trumpet players in the world. And if you want one of those jaw-dropping experiences, Alan Vizzuti will provide it. He's right here in Hays, Kansas. He's a great friend to Fort Hays.
Dr. Lane Weaver, Fort Hays State University Director of Athletic Band, Symphonic Winds, and Brass Choir. Our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.